Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching. Then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Neil and Waxy Waxy, Steve, and that's about it. So welcome, one and all.
How are you? It's going to be a problem going on mute, Nathan. I have no hands.
Are you referring to QE's live stream yesterday where he was covering Axiomatic rainbow guy with the ponytail?
Yeah, I got no hands. Oh, I could use my nose. I'll go on mute.
Yeah, there's lots of excuses that people who are opposed to us need to make so that they can keep apologetic lines open when they're making excuses for, say, using a flat earth in their measurements and things of that sort of nature. So they need to keep a door open to get out of any awkward situation that they might find themselves in. So in that particular instance, eventually that path of saying I'm not an absolutist, or I don't know if I've absolutely got a set of hands or not, but you can revert back to, well, you don't know if you're a brain in a jar or not. You can take it to those extremes should it be required. Now, obviously, we will absolutely stand by how Earth gets measured, because it's the same measurement for everybody on both sides. It doesn't matter if you're a ball believer or a flat earther. Earth is measured flat for every single instance that Earth can be measured, and there aren't any exceptions, as we're finding out, via people like Simon Dan and Fugly Dave McKeegan, where they measure Earth flat and then apologise for how flat they've had to measure it. Or the other hard place that people find themselves in is denying their own measurements or claiming that they're inaccurate. Like, well, they're not my measurements. Meanwhile, we do definitely measure Earth flat in all instances, so Earth is flat.
Exactly, and that's well said, because that's where you should always start. If you're debating, even though it's not a debating topic, we know it's measured flat, but at least if you start it out, you get it out, people hear it. So if they take you around the corner, at least you got that it's measured flat. Don't wait 3 hours. And then a lot of people don't even bring it up at all, which is freaking crazy to me.
Maybe
well, it was never mentioned yesterday, wasn't it?
Maybe people are scared of actually going through the discussion and explaining to people how Earth's measured flat if they don't know. So if we describe how a survey utilises trigonometric calculations based on flat Earth horizontal distance measurements, that's an explanation for how Earth gets measured flat. Or I like Brian's current one where he's describing takeoff and landing in an aeroplane. Obviously, we've already established that, you can only fly level to the ground, parallel with it. That's level flight, measured off sea level. So axiomatically, Earth can only be described and is only described and measured as flat when you describe level flight, parallel with the ground. That speaks for itself. I was speaking with Craig, the technician that does a lot of the work for me when I've got broken microphones and fixing computers and things like that. Does it all for free. He's very generous. That's how he supports this channel. Shout out to you, Craig. But Craig and I were discussing this today when I picked up a cable that he'd made for free. And he was explaining how these flat Earth only descriptions have kind of passed us by up until now. That is to say, it's how didn't we see this when we're talking about taking off from a level plane, cruising parallel with the ground, and then taking the flight back to the ground on a glide slope that's measured with horizontal distances. These are flat Earth only descriptions of flight, but yet we didn't realise and all believed we were on a ball for a significant period of time. It's very interesting to think now, for us at least, because we do understand how Earth is measured flat, how we didn't notice up until now.
Yeah, that's been my thing too. How did we miss it? Like, it was so many things that it was right there in front of us, but for some reason, refracted tells it like it is, because we were looking for curvature. That's how they set it up. So everybody's running around looking for curvature when the Earth is flat.
Yeah, it's a subtle difference if you, as we do, describe Earth being measured flat versus the standard fare rhetoric given to claim to be flat earthers when we arrived 10 years ago. Our preordained rhetoric was to describe how Earth is not a ball and then enter into debate about whether or not we've got curvature. Well, the descriptions of curvature, be it from the Earth curve mathematics or apologetics for how little you won't be measuring, all span from the same horizontal distance measurements and elevations. They're tied to axioms that can only geometrically describe a flat Earth if you're perpendicular to it for height, elevation, pressure. All of these things require a flat plane, and there's no axiomatic ball to describe in any of them. They're all in requirement of a flat Earth in the first instance. So when you know that, you go, again, how did we not notice when every single measurement without exception requires a flat Earth? Now, the hilarious part is that our opponents currently, albeit with us under the most severe of suppression you can possibly get, are still going out and measuring Earth flat. You know, we're giving examples with people like Simon Dan and Fugly Dave McKeegan when they're out measuring elevation angles off a flat plane thousands of times. They can't get away from the surveyed flat, flown across and sailed upon flat Earth that we all deal with on a daily basis. That is how Earth is dealt with. So regardless of whether or not we noticed, we were in a paradigm where we were fighting against a ball rather than just pointing out how Earth is actually dealt with. If you can argue how it's not a ball, your opponent can argue how it is a ball. And then there's just balls being discussed, isn't there? Whereas if you start with Earth is measured flat, and if somebody suggests that they're on a ball and then takes you to mathematics that requires eye level and surface level axiomatically be adhered to describe curve below the surface level that gets measured for altitude, you can point out that even though they believe their mathematics alludes to a ball, you need to measure Earth flat in order to achieve that paradigm. So Earth is measured flat for everyone. There aren't any exceptions. And I'm not going to be talking about how Earth's not a ball. If you want to believe you are on a ball, you are welcome to. But in order to believe you are on a ball, you must measure Earth flat. And there aren't any exceptions. Like I say, it must be very painful for people like Simon Dan to have me pointing out, you've measured Earth flat thousands of times with your participating audience when you measure elevation angles to the sun. What's elevation? Height off the surface? What's an angle? Two straight lines meeting at a vertex. So you've got a surface level for one part of the angle and an imaginary line to the sun for the other, measured through a protractor. Now that gives you a flat baseline in order to allege that these angles off a flat plane from surface level for altitude angles are creating a sphere? They're not. In fact, quite the reverse. It defies sphericity if you're measuring the surface flat. You can't then go on to describe, as Al-Biruni did, a ground that curves away from you if you've just utilised trig and horizontal distance measurements to acquire heights of mountains. You can only measure Earth flat and imply that the axiomatic flat ground you've measured bends after you've measured it flat. And that's what they do. They go out and measure elevation angles to the sun for 24 hours. Unless you're too stupid to operate a tripod like Dave McKeegan. Then you'll be outsmarted by it and unsuccessfully measure Earth flat for 24 hours. Fortunately, Dave being a total spastic, he had other people there to help him out that did know how to operate a tripod and measure Earth flat for the full 24 hours. So we've got full-on 24 hours of flat Earth measurements from these numpties, But they still want to call me in this alleged to be echo chamber, tell me that there are no guns in Antarctica. Who cares? We measure Earth flat. You measure Earth flat. We're all in the same boat, whether you like it or not.
It's 1 decade. Yeah, just a couple of things there. Yeah, we did miss a lot, including the Greeks, Eratosthenes. And I listened to the Ballbusters last week. I think QE went around the table asking, what would your, proof of flat Earth be? What would you use? And I use Eratosthenes. And it's ironic because that is their supposed proof of a globe. But when they ask me for proof of a flat Earth, I'll say, well, Eratosthenes measured Earth flat and go through that with them, which is ironic, but it's probably same as Al-Biruni, a really good flat Earth proof to start with. And I do it all the time now, and I have lots of fun with it.
Yeah, because they're in a hard place rock situation where they can either deny their own measurements from their own rhetoric from Al-Biruni as being inaccurate because he didn't account for a fraction. Like, if he accounts for a fraction, he can't do trig. So there's no ambiguity in terms of Al-Biruni's measurements. He's using horizontal distance measurements so he can use trig. Without horizontal distance, no trig, no height. They say, well, he should have accounted for a fraction. You can't account for a fraction if you're doing trig. So because he's doing trig, he can only measure Earth flat. Response from ball believers. Well, it's only a little bit of curve that he's not measuring. You're like, so he's not measuring curve? Yeah, we know. He's measuring it flat. You can either accept that fact or not. It doesn't make any difference to me. It's your story that you need Earth to be measured flat in.
What's refraction?
Nothing to do with trig. Nothing to do with parallel surface level and eye level. Like I say, the measurements are what they are. Whether they want them to be inaccurate, that's the hard place where they start denying their own rhetoric and measurements because of alleged refraction that hasn't been taken into account. Like, okay, so you're saying your crappy Al-Biruni measurements are wrong. Okay, no worries. He still did trig, though, didn't he, on a flat Earth? That's how he measured it. Feel free to deny the trig, but that is how he measured Earth flat with horizontal distance. All right, well, he didn't account for a fraction. Well, go and talk to Al-Biruni. The story is as it is. Earth was measured flat for trig. Don't have to like it. You can deny it. It doesn't bother me. It's not my story. But like any measurement of Earth, it will always and can only be measured flat.
Yep. It's like the Eratosthenes. I've got a guy at the moment, a bit of a chat. He's admitted now, he did measure angles only across a distance, a 7.2 degree angle, 2 straight lines using the surface of Earth. But he's now, whether he's just holding on to this for dear life, or he's still convinced that the calculation and the presupposition of the circle, he keeps calling it, of 360 degrees, which then you divide into with maths, gives you a circumference. He's not realising that that's just the presupposition thereafter that you've measured Earth flat using angle measurements and elevation angle measurements. So that's where I've got this guy at the moment, but he's, like I say, he's in between a rock and a flat place at the moment.
Exactly. You can either disavow your own measurements because Al-Biruni didn't account for a fraction, Eratosthenes didn't account for a fraction, they didn't account for the curved surface. Okay, well, you can say that, but then they can't do the measurement that they've done. You can either toss out the measurement, which requires a flat plane to do it, to get an angle, and call it an angle, or you don't, in which case Earth's measured flat. But they don't like it. They want to tell us how inaccurate their own measurements are. Like, okay, well, you can say that he's no longer got an angle, but then the starting point of this description that's alleging to prove a sphere has no starting point anymore. If you're saying it's wrong, the ground was bent, he just didn't account for it, well, then if the ground is bent, he's not getting an angle anymore because it's an elevation angle, meaning it's directly tied to the surface. That's what we're describing when we describe elevation of anything. Regardless of how you measure it, it can only and will only ever measure a flat Earth. Until you start denying it. Again, we've defined this hard place they find themselves in when they don't like using their own flat Earth measurements. and flat Earth trig and flat Earth horizontals. You don't have to like it. That's just how Earth gets measured, for you to believe in a ball after you measure it flat.
Yeah, once you say angle, you can only get an angle from a flat surface, and it's over right there.
Indeedy weedy. So, I've been shared a video from a couple of numpties, and the Guilty Dog Productions video is what we're going to be covering today. So I'm going to stick a link to their original video, and we'll go through it and critique it, and hopefully fun will be had by all. But if you are watching live, there is a... Let's just get rid of this. There is a link running by the live stream in the live stream chat where you can actually pop along to this videographer and just let them know with a polite comment at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Just to allude to the fact that we have covered their video in some fashion and responded to potentially some of their critiques of flat earthers and flat earth. We'll see how they get on. Anybody heard of these guys? Guilty Dog Productions? Guilty Dogs? No,
Nope.
Nobody's heard of them? Fair enough. Well, either way, let them know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Good.
Alrighty.
Alrighty, yes.
Eye-opening proof.
Oh, shit.
In the Bible, it's
Okay.
specific.
Nope, not proof. I love that. I have solid evidence in the Bible.
In the Bible, sorry.
God
What?
said,
No.
no, sorry, not proof. Why, what is this on my shirt?
That's my mom.
No, this.
That's my mommy.
No, this part.
Yeah.
Sorry, what? Because you've got a ball on your shirt, what?
It's your mom?
Yeah.
Is your mom rotund
Yeah.
or is she flat?
You know, you would be surprised that that's a divisive topic.
The earth, is it flat? Is it round?
Measured flat. That's how we've just covered it literally for the last 10 minutes. So just to answer your question, you can believe that the earth is a sphere. In order to believe that the earth is a sphere, you require flat earth measurements, including but not limited to elevation angles, horizontal distance measurements, elevation angles, horizontals, parallel, eye level, and surface level, sea level. All of these things are axiomatically tied to Earth measurements because that is how Earth gets measured, flat in all instances. So to answer your question, is it flat or round? Well, round and flat aren't mutually exclusive. You can have a round, flat penny, but nevertheless, we'll infer that you mean spherical, dumbass, and say it's not spherical because the inference comes from flat Earth measurements that would violate the measurements if it was spherical.
Don't answer that.
What? I just did.
Idiots would say...
Sorry, so we're into ad hominems and personal attacks. Okay, you've just opened the floodgates. Right, from this point forward, every time you say something stupid, I'm going to call you a retard and spastic. Because apparently we're idiots. No, I'm a flat earther. My name's Nathan Oakley. I deal with how Earth gets measured. For example, when you get on a plane, you fly parallel to the ground. It's called flight level. It's measured from sea level, and we have NTSB pitch data that shows that when people die from crashing into the flat ground they're flying over, it gets investigated with the black box measurements of parallel flight level with surface level. That is how Earth gets measured when investigating death. Now, you pair of spastics seem to think you're on a ball because you've been told so. That makes you pathetic and ignorant. Meanwhile, the more intelligent amongst us will point out to you how Earth gets measured. Flat in all instances. But thank you for opening the floodgates. You will be described appropriately from this point forward.
It's round. Watch this.
Dumbass. I think I covered this already. Round and flat are not mutually exclusive, you complete spastics. Maybe look up what round means. Is round spherical, or do you two pair of dicks not know the words you're using? Round and flat aren't mutually exclusive, you pair of peckerwoods.
Watch this.
Okay.
What, that's you standing up with a t-shirt on, you complete spastic? In your mind, standing up with a t-shirt on is proof of a globe, in spite of the fact it's measured flat? Now, that just makes you a retard if this is your standard of proof. A moment ago, you laughed at somebody, having not played their full excerpt, because they said they got proof from the Bible. Yet you seem to be alleging proof of a ball because you've got a T-shirt on. What kind of spastic are you? Did you not look at how Earth got measured before you started alleging that your T-shirt proved the ball? You complete retard.
Am I spinning?
Nathan,
Yeah.
sorry. Thing is, Nathan, if he would have looked how Earth was measured before he made this video, he would have found out that a Greek guy called Eratosthenes actually measured it flat, using angles, using the surface of Earth, and then did some mathematics to turn them flat Earth elevation angle measurements into a mathematical globe. So if he would have done some research, he would have easily and quickly found out that the Earth is actually measured flat, and the Greeks all knew that.
I think not.
Checkmate liberals.
There's
Sorry, checkmate liberals. What's a liberal? I don't even know what he's talking about. What's he talking about?
It's a
Checkmate
political
liberals.
position.
Somebody
It's
fill
a
me in.
political
What's
liberal
that
was
about?
somebody who was like a Democrat.
But what does that mean? Does it apply to me?
Well, yeah,
I've
he's
never voted.
stereotyping the fact that flat earthers are usually conservatives in their political affiliation.
As in the way they vote? I've never voted.
Exactly.
So,
Liberal.
stereotyping fallacy. Fallacious reasoning, that would be to call me a liberal. I'm not. That just makes you a moron using a stereotype fallacy. You know, the problem with stereotype fallacies, they're fallacious. You end up with someone like me who's never voted saying, I'm not a liberal. So checkmate liberals? No. Standing up with a T-shirt on that's got a globe on isn't a checkmate for anything. Meanwhile, measurements of Earth would dictate how you'd describe its shape. Not flat or round, because as I've pointed out 3 times, they're not mutually exclusive. You can have a flat, round penny, you complete dumbass.
a lot of people online that are stupid. Believe.
Yeah, we're talking to them. You're stupid. Flat and round aren't mutually exclusive, yet you think you've got a checkmate for liberals. Because you've, cut somebody off who said they got proof from the Bible? Yeah, wait till you get a load of me, dickheads.
Believe it or not. And they think the Earth is...
No, we don't think anything. We know Earth is measured flat because that's how it's measured. For example, when investigating death, the NTSB utilise horizontal plane measurements with sea level and flight level. That's how they investigate death. Do you understand, you pair of clowns? This isn't what I think, it's what I absolutely know, based on the investigations done when people die. So, you pair of muppets, do you think your T-shirt trumps NTSB investigations of crashes? No, you pair of clowns.
Is flat.
Okay.
I think I am a, what do they call it?
Yeah, this person looks stupid as well. This girl looks stupid. So you're picking out the lowest hanging fruit possible, I see. I would estimate that the reason this is what you're picking out is probably because this is what gets favoured by whatever algorithm you're tapped into. They will present the biggest spastics that there are who say they're flat earthers and then go to things like the Bible to present that as evidence. Yeah, they're going to give you the lowest possible hanging fruit. Unfortunately, in spite of the censorship, you will find out who I am. My name is Nathan Oakley. I'm going to be the one handing your dumb ass back to you whenever you say something stupid. Now, the algorithm's definitely not going to present my information to you. You won't find me by accident. You'll find this chewing gum, munching, mumbling buffoon. That's what you'll find your way to. Meanwhile, you'll have my audience telling you Nathan Oakley sent me to point out what a complete dumbass you pair are.
I think they call it a flat earther.
So she doesn't even know the title. I think they call it a flat earther. Yeah, she sounds really intelligent. Low-hanging fruit much, lads?
Sounds like she's from the UK, Nathan.
Doesn't make any difference to how stupid she sounds. She sounds stupid. I think I'm a flat... You don't even know the title and you're telling me you think you're it. Okay. Meanwhile, Earth's measured flat.
And for some reason, my algorithm has just been serving me these morons for like a few days now. So
Pretty much exactly like I just said then. So, like I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, In light of the fact that we've got an alien invasion on the table and people like you need to be scared shitless by that garbage, you're going to be fed the lowest possible hanging fruit to debunk when it comes to flat Earth. Me, I'm heavily censored. Why? Because I rub clowns like you and your noses in the flat Earth measurements, and then I'll use the very serious business of dealing with life and death investigations when I example flat Earth measurements. That's what I'll do. But what do you get presented to you by the algorithm, this chewing and munching idiot? Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. Me, I've got the absolute finest of evidence when it comes to proving beyond all doubt that not only is Earth measured flat, it's measured flat for your ball belief. You require elevation angle measurements from surface level and horizontal distance measurements in order to create radial values. They'll be flat and round to convert to sphericity. That's what you require. You, pair of numpties, need a flat Earth in order for you to believe the shit you were fed by your school system and you swallowed whole without any primary source research or investigation into the measurements of Earth. You seem to think that whether or not this numpty says she believes she's a flat earther has some bearing on how Earth gets measured. It doesn't. But that's absolutely what you'll be fed algorithmically, so it's easy to debunk. Well, get a load of me, dickheads. Earth's measured flat.
Oh, a lot of people out there believe the Earth is flat.
Well, those people will be presented to you ad nausea because people like me who know it's flat will point it out with measurements. Hence the suppression, hence you'll never naturally find your way to me. But I've got an audience that I can tell to go and tell you that I'm covering you right now and pointing out how stupid you pair are when you use things that aren't mutually exclusive like flat and round. You pair of spastics. Get off the internet, you're just full of disinformation and misinformation. You're a pair of clowns. You haven't done any research. Why have you even got a channel, you pair of dickheads? How do they taste?
Nathan, is it their fault if they're getting fed, if the algorithm is feeding them this nonsense? How are you to blame them?
Because they didn't do any primary source research. They just swallowed whole what their government-based education told them. That makes them idiots, incompetent, and poor researchers. Now, if you're going to come on and laugh at people, then you better have done your research, because otherwise you'll get your ass tanning by me. You'll get called a spastic in front of an audience that will go and tell you you're being called a spastic. Were you aware? You were thinking it was funny, laughing at people? Now you're getting called a spastic, aren't you?
Despite it being, at least to most people, very obvious. It's not.
I'm actually...
Sorry, very obvious it's not. Based on what? That's what's called a baseless assertion fallacy. So, based on it being very obvious, and then you need to evidence it with a standard, like utilisation of the NTSB pitch data that shows planes fly nose up with respect to horizontal and measure their altitude parallel with sea level. Those are demonstrable facts that are used to investigate life and death crash investigations. So what have you got? It's just obvious that it's a ball. No, it's not obvious. You've been told it's a ball based on your free government education that you are spoon-fed and have just decided to accept without doing any primary source research. Not that you probably even know what primary source research is. You weren't taught what that is in your crappy free education. But yet you feel fit to mock others. Well, I'm going to mock you, pair of clowns. You're both demented. You're both retards. You didn't do any research. And now you're getting shouted at by a flat earther using demonstrable fact and flat earth measurement to prove you're wrong. Most people believe they're on a ball because most people like you two dickheads are idiots and they don't do any research.
It's still not convinced. This is your opportunity to convince me.
Oh, really? You think this is my opportunity to convince you? I don't give a shit whether you believe it's a ball or not. I see you both as spastics. You think I give a fuck whether or not you believe this? It doesn't require your belief. We're investigating life and death when we look at pitch data from black boxes, when we measure altitudes with surveys, we're measuring rise over run with horizontal distance measurement. Do you think it matters to me if you're convinced or not, you belligerent spastic? No, it matters not whether or not you two pair of clowns believe this or not. It does not require your belief. It's a measurement of Earth's surface. Sea level as a simple example. Parallel flight level, as I've already given. Life and death pitch data when investigating death. Those are the standards we non-spastics, who don't have a belief in a ball based on our free government education, lay down when we deal with numpties like you.
I am an undecided voter in 2025.
So you're also
Convince
stupid.
This isn't political. This isn't based on consensus or what you vote on. You don't have a say in how Earth gets surveyed. Survey says Earth is flat because they require horizontal distance measurements when surveying Earth at all scales. There are no exceptions. You think you get a vote on it, do you, Tash? No, you and your bumfluff don't get a vote on this, you stupid retard.
Me. Yes. Yes.
Yes, I am. Let's get into it. Let's look at some flat Earth hosts. Let's see if we can be convinced.
Sorry, again, I'll just say it one more time. We aren't interested in whether or not you are convinced when Earth is measured flat. It's not something that we concern ourselves when it comes to you being convicted of these thoughts and feelings you have based on other people and what they say. Even me, what I say is irrelevant. If I die tomorrow, it won't change how Earth is charted, mapped, sailed upon, flown across, surveyed. All of those things will always require Earth be measured flat, regardless of whether or not I say so. Those are how Earth gets measured. Now, if you weren't a complete spastic, you'd go out and look at the measurements. But what are you doing? You're presenting what the algorithm presented you, so you're not even smart enough to do your own search. You'll just go with what YouTube and TikTok presents you. Oh my God. So you're doing it based on reaction? You're thick.
Oh,
This
she's
is one
an
of my
actress,
favorite
Nathan.
flat Earth.
Say again.
She's an actress, so the algorithm spit an actress out to them.
Oh, I've seen this
Things
before.
ever. This
Yeah.
is, I think, from a documentary on Netflix.
Yes.
So an anti-flat Earth documentary that's behind the curve is now what you'll base it on. I see. So it's almost like you're going straight to the opposition for their rhetoric. Well, let's point out a few things in behind the curve and how wrong they are when it comes to Earth measurement.
And it's the greatest documentary out there.
Yeah.
Really? The greatest documentary on flat Earth is a documentary that includes a now ex-flat Earther named Jaron Campanella? Really? See, I wouldn't call that the greatest documentary on Earth. I would use any crash investigation ever and say that documentary shows in the black box measurements of surface level just how flat Earth is. And there's no fucking around when we're dealing with people's death. Yeah? It's not Jaron Campanella, another shill spastic, who can't even use a compass. No. People who can't use a compass, their opinions in this matter are not valid. How Jaron, a spastic, measures Earth is irrelevant because we've got people who deal with life and death and they've got black box measurements of surface level and pitch and altitude parallel with surface level measured from sea level for flight level. So do you think it matters what Jaron, a spastic, says in a documentary on Netflix? You think Netflix are the arbiter of how Earth gets measured, do you, numpties? You think it's the best documentary on the subject? No. I think you're just being a bit reactive to what you saw on Netflix. How sad, how stupid, how idiotic you seem when you don't go to the measurements of Earth, you go to a shill documentary on Netflix, making you both seem like spastics. 'Cause you are spastics. Make no mistake.
Behind the curve.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Yes.
It's truly
Shake it, break it.
This is what gets me, Nathan. You just said it anyway, but they talk about anything except for geometry. We're talking about geometry, the Earth measurements. So let's get down to the nitty gritty and talk about that. That's what we're all talking about: the shape of the Earth, how's it measured, and what they're doing, playing a stupid documentary.
Yeah, behind the curve isn't dealing with flat Earth measurements. It's dealing with Jaron's measurements. Jaren doesn't deal with life and death scenarios like air crash investigations do. Jaren's a spastic. He doesn't know how to use a compass.
Bad opinions and their pseudoscience be disproved by themselves.
Yeah, got one thing right. Yeah, Jaren's a pseudoscientist because he continually alleges that what he's doing when he's poking holes in cardboard and shining lights through them, he calls those experiments. Yeah, Jaren doesn't know what science is, but I'll take this opportunity to educate you two dumbasses in science. Science is the elucidation of cause and effect based on natural phenomena. Step 1, observe natural phenomena. It's the dependent variable in step 2, formulate hypothesis. That would be your supposition of causal influencer for the naturally observed phenomena. Once you suppose a cause, you've got both independent and dependent variable, both halves of what is called an alternative hypothesis. Alongside that sits the null, the zero difference result. If A, not B, validated by step 3, experimentation, where you vary and manipulate that which you assume will cause the effect you observed at step 1. Upon variation and manipulation of a presumed cause, to see if it does or does not cause the effect, you either validate the null, that's the zero difference result, tick, proven, it didn't cause it, or validate the alternative, tick, yes, this caused the effect I observed at step 1. That is a scientific validity. It is empirical. It is known as the scientific method, otherwise known as natural science or physics. Physics being the study, shocking, of the physical and natural world. Now, what Jaren does when he pokes holes in cardboard is not physics. It's not science. It is spastic.
And then they later convinced themselves that it was
Sorry, who are they? Are you talking about Jaren?
like a bad test.
Right. And
No, Jaren went to Antarctica, measured Earth flat with elevation angles, and then decided because there's an azimuthal equidistant North Pole-centric globe projection that true Earthers call the flat Earth map, that means Earth is not flat in spite of him measuring Earth flat. In fact, many of them who went to Antarctica, including this shill called Jaren, who alleges that science is poking holes in cardboard, measured Earth flat in Antarctica. All of them did. Oh, I say all of them did. One of them was outsmarted by a tripod. His name's Fugly Dave McKeegan, a very ugly, troll-looking mofo who couldn't cope with a tripod. Now, he did measure Earth flat in a limited capacity till he was outsmarted by a tripod with elevation angle measurements off surface level. Because even the guys who think Earth isn't flat and go to Antarctica to measure elevation angles off surface level seem to think that their flat Earth elevation angles prove a globe. Yeah, again, like you, they're bunch of idiots. Some of them not even capable of using a tripod. Some of them not capable of using a compass. The guy in this documentary specifically, his name's Jaren Campanella. He subsequently switched sides after using, and we counted them, 9 separate flat Earth prerequisites to suggest he's not on a ball. Complete idiot.
even better, you see the reality of their own sunk cost hitting them in the face.
No, what we see is the reality that shills are amongst us in this community so they can lead, like shepherds, the sheep away from flat earth measurements and scientific validity. That's what Jaren does. Jaren has literally, when discussing this subject with me, denied what science actually is, and then moved back onto the ball based on flat earth angle measurements to the sun for 24 hours, other than Fugly Dave McKeegan, who was outsmarted by a tripod.
How many years they've spent with this falling away.
They've gone too deep. They can't.
Right, falling, like as in a downward vector, perpendicular to a plane of reference. Yeah, you'll need a flat earth for that.
Can't admit that they're just wrong. So they
Sorry, I'm not going to be admitting when I'm wrong when your globe Earth measurements rely on measuring Earth flat, including but not limited to Eratosthenes and Al-Biruni, who both utilize elevation angle measurements, and in the case of Al-Biruni, horizontal distance measurements on Earth's surface in order to acquire elevations of mountains. That's height off surface level, perpendicular to a plane of reference, measured with horizontal distances. This isn't a belief. It's measurements of Earth you need for your dumbass ball belief.
have to convince themselves that they're right.
No. There's no convincing me when it comes to how Earth is measured for everyone. Now, you can tell me that I'm wrong. That what, Al-Biruni didn't measure Earth flat to do trig to get the height of the mountain, but he did. Your dumbass ball faith relies on Earth being measured flat. Everyone's belief in a ball relies on Earth being measured flat because, shocking, Earth is measured flat by everyone, always and without exception. It's not a belief.
All right, so let's see them attempt to do that.
Through this hole, through the next hole, and seeing the light at the backboard or 17 feet off.
Okay.
It says water level here. Well, he's got that bit right. In order to describe these elevations, they'll be described in feet off surface level. That's correct. That's the only way you can measure height. It's an elevation measurement. And if you're going to describe it with respect to the surface level or sea level, then that is precisely what you need the parallel eye level, in this case camera level, to be to get 17 feet off anything. You're not measuring off curve level, you pair of dumbasses.
Okay, so straightforward experiment. They're far enough away.
Oh, really? Straightforward experiment? You mean the elucidation of cause and effect based on naturally occurring phenomena, otherwise known as physics? The study of the physical and natural world? Yeah, this isn't natural, is it? You think men propping up bits of card and utilising feet measurements off surface level, parallel, to describe altitudes of the bits of man-made card is an experiment? I know we've got a spastic in the house, haven't we? Somebody who feels fit to laugh at us. Well, I'm not laughing at you, I'm calling you a spastic, because you don't know what an experiment is. Same as Jaren doesn't know what an experiment is. Don't use these words, you pair of spastics. You don't know what it means. Now I'll reiterate what an experiment is. It's the elucidation of cause and effect based on a scientific prediction. A scientific prediction is an experimental validity that you can get called a hypothesis. And that experimental validity is only offered after you observe natural phenomena and presume a cause for it, to later be varied in what is called an experiment. This isn't that. But it does very much involve measurements of altitudes for the bits of card described as 17 feet off surface level. You're going to need a surface level, you're going to need eye level parallel with it, and you're going to need altitude measurements in order to describe this. So before we've done anything, you've measured Earth flat to describe these feet off surface level, you pair of clowns. Didn't you notice where it said surface level in the diagram? No, obviously not very observant.
In a light at a camera, you have a hole at one height.
Good.
I'm just saying, all it takes is a quick search for anybody of what is sea level used for. And sea level is used as a universal 0 point for measuring elevation and altitude, because the interconnectedness of the Earth's oceans allows for a relatively consistent base level for altitudes, with positive values for points above sea level and negative values for points below. This means sea level provides a standardized baseline for surveyors and cartographers worldwide.
So, in
Simple.
other words, in order to describe what is on screen now, before we do anything, don't need to shine any lights through any holes. The measurements, the only thing that's been measured in this diagram is off surface level in feet. Yeah, so we don't need to go any further with a spastic named Jaren and his alleged non-experiment. This isn't required. You've already measured Earth flat. Wouldn't it be helpful if we had a shill named Jaren to then take that flat Earth only measurement and ignore it and start shining lights through cardboard holes and calling them experiments? Yeah, that would be very useful. To completely ignore how flat Earth got measured to give us feet off surface level. I'll point out that in order to have this alleged experiment, it isn't. You've got to measure Earth flat for elevations off it. It's quite simple. Earth, as always, is and can only be measured flat. Here it is on screen, 17 feet in 3 different locations off surface level. you need a universal parallel sea level or surface level in order to measure the altitude. So it's game over, lads. You pair of spastics didn't notice. Yeah, that's because you're both retarded.
Height, and then like a mile down the road, you have the same piece of wood with the same hole at the same height. So you should...
Same height? So you seem to be using these flat earth only prerequisite measurements in your own descriptions, but you didn't quite notice? Yeah, what a shock.
Just see the light going through both.
You know what I think the next level of this experiment...
You know what I think? I think that these pair of fuckers who have absolutely no fucking idea what they're talking about only published this 18 hours ago, and yet they've got 2,500 views on it, in spite of having a channel a third the size of mine. Why is that? That these two fucking retards get nearly 3,000 views in less than 24 hours, and I will struggle to get 100 live stream viewers after 10 years of researching this subject and refining the argument to the point where I can absolutely annihilate these two fucking retards. Why is that? It infuriates me. And I'll tell you why it is. They already covered it. It's because the algorithm favours these two dicks and the spastic flat earthers chewing gum over us talking about actual measurements, NTSB pitch data, sea level, surface level, charting, navigating, flying over Earth as a flat plane that we measure. That will mean we get limited views and YouTube props up these two fucking prepubescent spastics.
It should be if Peen go through a hole at 17 feet and you...
17 feet? Would that be a elevation measurement off surface level, you fucking tash-ridden spastic? You and your bumfluff are using flat earth measurements, you fucking retard.
Go really far away, can you look at Peen through hole at 17 feet? If
you can measure a flat earth to get 17 feet off it in 3 different positions, but that would mean you understood how flat earth is by way of the measurements being utilised before you start investigating what people think about it, having measured it flat.
Earth not flat.
Sorry, Earth's not flat. Why the fuck did you just use 3 flat Earth elevation measurements off surface level then, you fucking mustachioed spastic? No, fuckwit! You're a retard. You haven't got the slightest clue what you're babbling about, do you? That's why you're having a strip torn off you by me, Nathan Oakley, the one who knows how Earth's measured, and as a consequence, I have to be suppressed. And you get presented to the world to dumb them down. Your place on YouTube and TikTok is to make the rest of the spastic world even dumber. That's where you fit in. Now, me, knowing how Earth gets measured, we're not going to get promoted because we'd wake people up to how deceived they actually are with their government-based free education. You support the narrative, don't you? You're helping dumb the world down. You don't even know it.
You should join these guys.
Mind freak.
Good.
Yeah. What people should really realise is that people like these guys who make these videos will probably get subscribers because they make the videos. These type of people, go back a little bit of time, they wouldn't touch us. Brian Cox wouldn't come near us for 10 years until he was aware of us in 2014. Suddenly this nonsense thing happens in Antarctica in 2024, and suddenly Brian Cox is coming out. Now you have these other guys, like other podcasters like these guys, who suddenly are delving into the topic. I mean, if we were so easily defeated, right, with such ease, if it was so easy to show us to be that wrong, and to be so wrong, where were all these people before that?
These two, well, let me just answer you. These two are an itch in their dad's pants at that particular point in time.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is they're coming out now with arrogance and confidence because they think they have something which they don't. Because they're talking as if they always knew without a doubt, like, that we were all always wrong. Well, how come you didn't make a video prior to December 2024 then? If you had such confidence in yourself and the position you hold concerning the geometry of the world, where were you in November 2024? Where were you? How come you didn't come out with your confidence then? Where was the confidence? You know, It's because what took place, I don't care what it was that took place in December 2024 in Antarctica or wherever else it took place. I don't care. What matters is they now think that solves the problem and the deal is closed. Right? That's what they think. These type of people. It's like nobody. You have no idea. And none of these people have actually looked into that whole thing. None of these people have looked into it. Because in a way, it's like another 9/11, right? Or moon landing. I called it, when it first came out, I called it, and other people called it the same thing, I'm sure. I did hear other people saying it. But I personally called it moon landing part 2, right? None of these people, right, have given it anything other than a surfacely looking at it, because they don't want to look into the background of any of this in case they find something that makes the story, or at least brings a little bit more doubt into their minds about the story than they have. Do you know what I mean? They don't want to find out whether Will Duffy was a good guy or not a good guy or anything like that, right? Now, that's only personal nonsense, right, to do with Will Duffy. The point I'm making is they'll surfacely look at this stuff. They don't want to go into any further than that. And then they come out with a video like this arrogantly as if we were all wrong and we're a crowd of like super idiots. It's like, I'm sorry, there's a lot of stupid people in the world. There is. But to think that a whole group of people can be as stupid as they think we are is one of the most, it must be the most stupid thought I've ever, group thought that I've ever experienced. It has to be. To think that we're all so stupid. We grew up in the same world as them, but we're all so stupid that we completely got it wrong, regardless of what was shown to us. Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Well, it's because they
Maybe
get presented.
it's you that have gotten it wrong. Maybe it's them that have got it wrong. Did they ever even consider that?
No, because
they
they've been
won't
told.
even do any more than a surface look at December 2024. Go on, sorry.
It's because they've been told that it's not flat and educated that it's a ball from a very early age, and without any discernment, which you're not educated in. In a standard government education, they're not teaching you the Socratic method, they're not teaching you primary source research, they're not utilising the trivium to teach you. They're teaching you what's what and getting you to repeat it back verbatim on a test sheet. And if you don't repeat it back as per the test sheet's dictation, then you fail. And therefore are a failure if you don't or aren't capable of repeating back rhetoric. And that's what they're fed, rhetoric. Now, when it comes to this subject, it's far easier to respond to some Brit chewing gum saying, I don't know, I think I'm a, what's it called? Flat earther? Yeah, that's the thing that they're going to get responding to, isn't it? That's what they get presented with. I've been saying this for weeks, right? That the suppression's horrendous. But this guy's just pointed out that he gets presented plenty of flat earth material. Yeah, from some chewing numpty talking about thinking about she's a flat earth or not. Yeah, that's what they get presented. But meanwhile, why have I started swearing? Why am I spitting feathers and furious? Like I say, because this is the net result of how algorithmically unbalanced this subject is. Like Chase Hughes was talking about, you know you're in a psyop when the people who talk truth have to be silenced. Now, we're not talking about the world falling. We're not talking about aliens coming on spaceships. No, we're talking about how Earth gets measured in black box data on aeroplanes. So that means that the views on this video, this one we're making now live, will struggle to get 1,000 video views. Whereas they will get thousands of views with a limited audience because it's being presented to everyone. Why? Well, because they're mocking flat earthers. Not with decent evidence, not with a standard that you can get behind, not with measurements, but with Jaron Campanella's use of flat earth measurements that are whistled past after doing a quote-unquote experiment with bits of fucking cardboard. That'll get them thousands of views. Well, me, like I say, having done this for 10 fucking years, that infuriates me. Absolutely infuriating that these two fucking Pindic spastics are getting thousands of views laughing at people and not using any decent discernment, no research, none. They're just reacting to what the algorithm gave them. And what did the algorithm give them? Dickhead retard flat earthers to react to. It's absolutely infuriating.
Yeah, you should be the first one that comes up. in the algorithm and you're not, and that's pretty sad.
No.
Sorry.
If you type my fucking name in, you'll find out thousands of detractor videos that lie about me and say I don't understand fucking flat earth measurements that I'm utilising and citing that are used to investigate life and death scenarios. I'm being presented by my opponents only. When you search for me, that's what censorship is. That's what a psyop looks like. Go ahead.
In a load of personal attacks as well, not even on the subject.
Yeah. So, like I say, in this instance, I'm allowed to spit feathers. And given that the opener from these two prepubescent dickheads was to say that we're idiots, now, when it comes to your idiocy, I'll point it out with the most fury I can muster. You pair of retards. Do some research. Is it just what you were spoon-fed by your education? Did you not feel implied to go and do some primary source research? Maybe check whether or not what they told you was true or not? No, you don't have that level of discernment. You're both thick. So when it came to seeing the very real flat earth height measurements off surface level, that you didn't even notice? Yeah, that's because you're both dumb. But that'll mean you get 10 times more views than me. Because that's what YouTube and society wants. They want the rest of the world to be dumbed down by you. So you're both useful tools. You're being used algorithmically to dumb the rest of the world down, while the actual people who've researched this subject get suppressed. That's me and everyone around me.
Be like, all right, let's run this experiment again. Just put your...
Do I have to do it for a third time? The elucidation of cause and effect based on a scientific prediction. That's a hypothesis, scientific prediction, and the prediction is what will cause the effect you observed in nature. You do it by variation and manipulation of a presumed cause, otherwise known as an independent variable, to see if it causes the dependent variable, otherwise known as naturally occurring phenomena. 3 times I've had to go through this with you. You keep using these words like you're intellectuals. Hello, spastics! Go and learn what science is before you use the word experiment. Oh, is it just because Jaron, another spastic, used the word? Yeah, it is, isn't it? Because the algorithm presented this. Oh, it was Netflix. Was it on the front page? Yeah? Just reacting to what you were given? Yeah. That's why you are useful to dumb the rest of the world down while we get suppressed talking about flat earth, life and death measurements.
I just want to point out that took you about 30 seconds to go through that scientific method, what science is and what it isn't. So it doesn't take a long time.
Your penis through the
Put
hole.
peen through a hole and see if it can be visible from half a mile away.
Yeah, which you can because it's huge. It barely...
Half a mile like would be utilised in a horizontal planar system when surveying Earth. So the miles would be flat and linear. Again, you don't really understand the words you're using. Go and pick up a map and look at the scale on it. Does it look fucking curved, you pair of retards? Have you never travelled any distance? Oh, is it because you're too young to have a fucking driving licence?
Barely fits through the hole.
Exactly. The Earth is flat. If he's holding it up at 23 feet high and we're seeing the light, well,
there you go.
So what's going on? Notice how what we've now got on the diagram is a bent level, a contradiction in terms much. You're not going to be 23 feet off sea level or surface level if it's bent. You've just defied the axiomatic principle used in the measurement to suggest that 23 feet is anything other than a height off surface level. No, the measurements are being violated when you suggest sphericity. So that scuppers this garbage, doesn't it?
The Earth's curved. Enrique, how high is your light?
But we don't need Jaron to do this measurement. Yeah? Like I've already referred to, NTSB pitch datas measuring the surface for thousands upon thousands of flown over miles. Linear, flat, utilization of perpendicular elevation measurements. Do you know what these words mean, lads? Oh no, you just relied on this fucking retard, Jaron.
17 feet.
I mean, it's his. We don't see you, Enrique. Lift up your light way above your head. Interesting.
Interesting. I love it. Interesting. It's almost like we proved the other point.
Give me a second.
Sorry, you feel that Jaron poking a light through a bit of cardboard proves the ball? I mean, that's almost as good as the 1,000-year-old Al-Biruni elevation angle measurements of a mountain with horizontal distance measurements. It's almost like Gerrand supersedes Al-Biruni. No, this does not prove the other side, because in order to suggest for you two spastics that this proves the other side, you had to violate the base principle of the measured height off surface level when you bent it. Did you not notice? Oh yeah, that's because you're both fucking retards. That's why you're being presented to the world that needs to be kept stupid.
And my worldview is being shattered.
Yeah, hold on. I need to think of a way out of this.
No, I don't. No, I just present the actual measurements of Earth's surface. In this instance, they were on screen the entire time until they were violated by bending surface level.
Interesting. Well, that's nice. I'm happy for that.
Oh, Aiden Ross.
This is my favorite streamer, though.
I honestly think...
Sorry, who is your favourite streamer? Aiden Ross is your favourite... Who's Aiden Ross? Anybody know?
No.
He's the stupidest streamer on...
Say again, Vaxi?
Isn't that like a rapper or something? Like a hip-hop artist? I don't know.
No idea. I'm not down with the kids, I'm afraid. I'm pretty old.
On the internet. I've seen so many stupid takes from Aiden Ross, and also he had Donald Trump on a stream. Yes. And like, it's like Joe Rogan-y, where you're just like a puppet to be used to get pushed to...
A puppet being used to push certain narratives? How ironic. No, let's get this absolutely clear. You are a puppet. You are being used to push this narrative in defiance of how Earth gets measured. That's why I keep seeing your view counter roll up every time I click back onto your video. Because YouTube will promote this shit over and above what we cover, and that's flat Earth measurements used for your ball faith, including but not limited to Al-Biruni's horizontal distance measurements used for trig when measuring heights of mountains. Surveys of mountains, like Brian continually examples, 100-mile distance to measure Everest, with horizontal distance, that's 100 miles, linear and flat, and an elevation angle to the mountaintop. That's how we calculate the height of the mountain by way of measuring Earth flat. Now, we are often faced by other numpties who tell us that we are wrong when we describe the prerequisite flat Earth requirement utilised by surveys. As though they're wrong? No, you can only use horizontal distance measurement in surveying if you're going to be using trig, and that is how Earth gets surveyed. But in all irony, you think that these people going on Aiden Ross are puppets? No, you two are puppets. You're being algorithmically promoted. That's how you've managed to make your way to me. Yeah? Because my audience sees you presented to them, not me personally. It's been presented to me by one of my participating members. Nevertheless, the reason you've been presented to me is because you are algorithmically favoured to dumb the world down. Hope you're proud.
Younger
Hello,
people.
fellow kids. I'm furthering the narrative.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. You are indeed furthering the narrative of a ball that is based on flat Earth measurements.
Have you ever been to Antarctica? Yeah.
First off,
Antarctica. Oh, I love this subject. In Antarctica, you can probably still hear my name echoing around the snow. Because on this show, which you can join, gentlemen, I'm sure you've now had a link from one of my participating audience members letting you know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. You, like one of the participating members in the Antarctic crew that went down to measure Earth flat, could also phone me to talk about whether or not there are guns in Antarctica. Like, where are the guns, Nathan? That would be me and my name echoing around Antarctica. Why? Well, because I pointed out to the people who did go down to Antarctica and actually did some measurements, unlike Mr. Beast, that their measurements were of a flat Earth. Elevation angle measurement sound familiar? Yeah, I've been talking about it quite a lot while we point out how you're being used as tools to dumb the world down because you're so idiotic. Your poor research favours the control structures that keeps you and everybody watching you dumb. Meanwhile, the people who do go to Antarctica and make elevation angle measurements to the sun for 24 hours, apart from ugly Dave McKeegan, couldn't quite wrap his head around his own tripod. But other than fugly Dave McKeegan, who couldn't quite cope with a tripod, the rest of the crew measured Earth flat with elevation angle measurements for a full 24 hours. That would be a flat Earth prerequisite surface level utilised in an elevation, that means off the ground, angle measurement to the sun. So Earth got measured flat even by the people who were there to disprove us. End result, my name echoing around the Antarctic snow. Where are the guns? Was the response when I pointed out that they, that would be the Antarctic investigators, measure Earth flat when trying to debunk how flat it is.
Antarctica. You ever been to Antarctica? Antarctica?
Antarctica?
Have you ever been
Right, that's not what he said. He just said Antarctica. What are they talking about?
to Antarctica?
I love the mystery music playing under it too.
You can see XQC's face just being ready for the dumb. To just spew out.
Really? Can you see my face? Do I look impressed with you two fucking retards? Am I waiting for the dumb? No, I watched this in advance. I already knew how fucking stupid you two were before I covered this video. So I'm not waiting for anything. I know you're both spastics.
Do you believe in the ice wall?
Yeah, there we go with the controlled opposition narrative. Are we talking about whether or not Earth gets measured flat? No, we're asking first question. If there's an Antarctic ice wall, who gives a shit? Earth got measured flat in Antarctica. But we'll discuss whether or not there's an ice wall. Yeah, that's the controlled opposition narrative that they'd like you to have.
I saw the ice wall.
I was wrong. XQC immediately jumped on it. I saw the ice wall.
But I think he's fucking with him. I don't think he's being serious.
I hope so. I do think.
Are you two being serious? I mean, I just want to know. I'm asking for a friend. Are you really this fucking stupid? I mean, did you really do absolutely no research into how Earth got measured before you made this video? I mean, are you really this fucking stupid? I'm just asking for a friend.
I think XQC is not the dumbest person alive.
Nah, I think you two are. I think you two are fundamentally retarded. That's what I think. And it's based on a demonstrable fact in terms of how you behave. You're both fucking retards.
Aside from all the gambling stuff that he does, he doesn't seem, from what I've seen, like a bad
anything
person
other
or
than
anything.
a normal fucking guy.
So, I don't know.
Match day isn't.
I do.
He saw it too.
I can't say actually. No way. We'll talk about it later. That's crazy.
They're both fucking with him.
No,
you can tell XQC took over to then get Mr. Beast to dunk on him.
So you're both Mystic Meg, divining other men's thoughts, eh? Wow. What's next? You gonna dig out your crystal ball?
Immediately, Mr. Beast is also like, yeah, okay. He immediately sees the situation for what it is.
Oh, does he? Again, divining another man's thoughts. Kind of pathetic. You don't know what Mr. Beast is thinking. He just said, yeah. That was all he said. But you've decided what he's thinking. Hello? Spastic much? Yeah. Again, I'll just say it one more time. Useful idiots, keeping the world stupid. Divining another man's thoughts based on a single word? Yeah. Now you know what he's thinking, do you? Oh, really? Can I buy the same crystal ball you're using, Spastic?
But it depends, because which Mr. Beast are we dealing with? Are we dealing with the Mr. Beast with good teeth or bad teeth? That's
an ad hominem attack
question.
Aiden Ross is a moron, and these guys are clearly fucking with him.
Yeah.
Are they?
Let's run it back one more time.
Have you ever been to Antarctica?
Yeah, you're right. He says it weird.
Yeah.
Do you believe in the ice wall?
Yeah, I saw the ice wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's asked, have you seen an ice wall? And he says yes. And from that, you draw the conclusion that someone's fucking with someone else. Oh my God.
Yeah, he saw it too.
Yeah, so clearly fucking with him, and he's like, no way.
Yo, I'm not the only one with this fringe theory.
I like
theory. Oh God, got to do it again.
Before you do it, just take a break, right? These guys are your super typical podcast bros. That's what they are, isn't it? These are the epitome of those boneheads, right? They're the same kind of white, middle-class American, kind of Californian accent, kind of, everyone's a bro, and they're thrown out names, and they're all paid by somebody. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, they're on the lower end of the pay, but they're trying to move up the ranks in whatever company they're working for. Possibly Mr. Beast, right, whose reputation took a hit there last year when a member of his own staff became a trans person and then did some weird stuff with some underage kids or something, or people or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Kids or so. I don't know. There was some weird stuff went on there. Point is that it's strange that what I noticed a lot, and I have noticed over time, is when people like this approach this topic. Earlier on, they were talking about Gerald's hole in the piece of cardboard, and about another piece of cardboard that some guy called Enrique, right, who nobody ever saw, right, was supposedly had whatever 3 miles away, right? They started talking about putting their penises through it, right? Why does it have to become sexual? What's that about? Is it that's where you need to go to because the topic is something you don't want to deal with, or is that the red herring to make people's minds not focus upon what's happening? Like, I've heard this a lot. They start going into this sexual undertone thing. What is that? Is it an anger thing? Is it a fear thing?
It's puberty.
Because anger, fear.
Puberty.
Is it? Go on.
It's called puberty.
Yeah, it's not. Nah, Nathan. Nah, this is not that. Nah, you can't call it that. This is different. This is like,
I can.
Why,
I remember being that age. I was like a dog with 2 dicks.
What about when I've heard it from people who weren't that age?
Maybe they just weren't as horny as me.
There goes your idea.
Them. They're just horny kids. I can relate.
Nah.
They're looking at holes of the wall.
Yeah, nah. That doesn't wash with me. That response where they start going into sexual matters, that is not because of puberty or anything else. That is a defense mechanism or something, or a red herring for people. There's something weird there. I've noticed that in more, and not just these guys who are what you're saying are 14. They're not bloody 14, Nathan.
Like how all the comments don't catch on to it too. Yeah. Bro, why does there have to be so many secrets? Don't tell the humans about something that could change their lives. I just don't get it.
That's a crap comment. My responses to almost everybody are almost identical now. People accuse me of cutting and pasting my comments to them, and I don't. I type them all out individually. But meanwhile, Earth's measured flat, as per my comment responses, as opposed to there's a secret being held. No, it's not a secret. They publish NTSB pitch data. We got it from a public source because it's not a secret. Surveys of Earth, they're not secret. They're just done flat. Hence our opponents like Simon Dan pointing out how flat Earth gets measured and then apologising for the lack of Earth curve that isn't being measured and saying, oh, well, it's only a limited amount of Earth curve, so you don't need to measure it when we measure Earth flat. In other words, this isn't a secret. But the commenters need to make it seem that way, and that's what will get highlighted.
Even if it's true, how would it change your life at all?
It wouldn't.
How it would change your life? I don't know. I mean, I would suspect that me pointing out that you've done no research may or may not result in you changing your fucktard ways in terms of how much research you do in future videos. Maybe not. That's the only change I can perceive. But like I've just pointed out, nothing changes. Earth was, is, and always will be measured flat by everyone always. That's how it's measured. So in terms of what changes, nothing. Just spastics and how quickly they get promoted by YouTube after I point out how limited their research base was. So whether or not you change how limited your research is up to you, you pair of fucking retards.
We have footage of aliens getting hit with fucking military strikes.
Called it. So when I said yesterday and the day before, the reason we are so heavily suppressed is because they need dickheads to be scared shitless that they're going to be attacked by aliens. Now, this guy has just said he knows this is true. You listen to the standard that he now goes into.
And still, everybody just goes to work. You didn't see that?
I don't know what you're talking about. Do you get fooled by AI?
No, buddy. This is Congress. If Congress is fooling me with AI, then I have a heavier problem.
Either.
Yeah, you do. Many a true word spoken in jest. Yeah, the problem here is that you've just accepted carte blanche what you've been fed on a screen. You've decided, because of what was formerly ridiculed back in the 60s and 70s in the back pages of newspapers, is now absolutely true because the government said it's true. So when the government said aliens are stupid, what a crazy notion, everybody laughed along at the people who were saying they'd seen aliens. Now that the government say, oh yeah, look at this black and white shit 144p grainy as all hell footage, this is definitely an alien being hit by a missile, you swallow that shit whole. Num 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 num, government told me we've got aliens, so we've got aliens. That's your standard. The government told you, so it's so. Okay, you're not going to do any more research into it. You're just going to accept it because the government told you. Oh, wow. Well, obviously, the government are your best friend. They've definitely only got your best interests at heart when they tell you to be scared of black and white grainy footage. It's me. Is it just me? Did we cover this also a couple of days ago? If it's 240p images of Bigfoot, people in the comments will be like, why is it that in 2025 we've got black and white, out of focus, low-res pictures of Bigfoot being used to evidence this standard? And that's apparently not good enough. But yet when the government gives it you in the shittiest low-res black and white blurry footage, it means it's absolutely true because it came from the government. Do you not see the disparity, you pair of retards? Yeah, that's because you only swallow what the government tells you to swallow. You're a pair of cucks.
Either way, it doesn't change anything.
No,
it
exactly.
doesn't.
Aliens have been confirmed by our governing bodies. And
have they now? They've been confirmed? Aliens? No, the reason, again, like I say, we get suppressed is because we point out, based on laws of nature, how the sky is not a vacuum. If the sky was a vacuum, 10 to the minus 17 torr for the little green aliens to come from, then the gas you are enjoying breathing would have filled the space and would have never developed gas pressure.
And it doesn't change people's lives.
Does this explain why we get no sun at night?
What's going on in the middle of the world?
We'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
Dude.
There's 3 worlds?
There's
more utter garbage being peddled out as being flat Earth rhetoric. Now, Earth's measured flat in all instances without exception. When you measure Earth, it will be flat. For elevations off surface level, for parallel flight level, for sailing, for mapping, for charting, for flights. All of these things require the axiomatic principles of perpendicular, parallel, and a plane to be measured. There aren't any exceptions. So what do you need to do if that's the case? Well, you need this kind of shit to be presented as though it's the flat Earth rhetoric. And what we say, no, Earth's just measured flat. For you and me and everyone always. Yeah, shove us to the bottom of the lists and replace my search, Nathan Oakley search, with every detractor saying I'm a child-abusing scumbag.
3 worlds, because the world is a stack of flat.
Yes, good.
Also, we are being invaded by aliens, except they're coming from beyond the horizon, usually on rubber dinghies.
Yeah, realistic aliens coming from the new worlds. Yeah, they come from horizontal. That's where we found the new worlds. That's where all the resources would be if we kept on looking out towards the horizon. Unless we're told that there's a finite amount of resources and they need to keep control of them and control the price of them, control you in the process. Yeah, that's what's really happening here, as of about 300 years ago. But in my humble opinion, it can't last forever. This lie and deceit about Earth and its alleged shape when it's measured as a plane of reference will eventually fail, because you can't hide the fact of Earth measurement forever. Yes, you can attempt to suppress me, but there's going to be a certain amount of interaction, like my audience interacting with you two pair of spastics telling you at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment. If you are watching this in my live stream currently, and you're amongst the very limited audience that I get, 76 people currently watching, this video with less than 10,000 subscriber base will have outstripped my live stream before we've finished it, in terms of the amount of views it gets. Nevertheless, this particular video is worthy of a share, so I have shared it. Hopefully, if these two numpties were to do a reaction, they'd do the same service for me. That is to say, they'd put a link to my video and say, go and check out Nathan Oakley's video. He talks about how Earth gets measured flat, rather than talking about Joe Rogan. Anyway, there's a link going by to Guilty Dog Productions, Guilty Dogs Productions. Bit of a weird phrasing that, but nevertheless, go and let them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me if you are in my live stream currently. Is there any other comments before I round out the live stream and ask people to stay tuned?
No, but for the after show, somebody has finally sent me some globe proof.
I will cover that now. Let's do that now.
No, yeah, just 1 second. It's only because of puberty, Nathan. That's it.
Only what? Say that again.
It's just puberty. That's all. It's only puberty.
What, being horny?
These guys, everything they do is just puberty. That's all. It's just
I did not say everything they did is just because of puberty. That's a gross exaggeration.
Yeah, I had puberty in my 20s. Just stop.
He's upset with you because you cut him off. Here's the proof that Earth is a sphere. The distance along the equator between two longitudes.
Stop. What's the equator? Brian? Minimum.
Puberty. It's puberty.
I knew
I'll
it.
get lost. The equator is a derivation of the minimum elevation angle to Polaris. It's a circular value. It's an area of equal elevation.
It's a latitude.
Yeah. But that's a circle of equal elevation, isn't it?
Yeah, so he's using flat Earth. But he goes on to say the longitude is greater than...
Longitude, like this described on screen. So when you utilize a glorified protractor, you will infer a flat plane of reference to measure in order to derive latitude and longitude, which then gets transposed onto a flat map with a flat grid in a Cartesian system. So all utilization of these flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle measurements in the form of latitude and longitude are flat Earth proofs that they whistle past when they suggest they're proving a globe.
Yeah, so, and then he says, goes on to, is the two longitude is greater than along any latitude, both north and south of the equator.
Stop.
Absolute
Stop.
proof that it's a globe.
Stop.
North and south just means that they're experiencing puberty. I mean, north and south means that they are, in fact, utilizing horizontal distances and horizontal directionality. I'll just do it for the benefit of the audience. Which way is north? Is that north? What about that? Is that north? No, that is north. It's a horizontal distance. If you don't believe me, because you think this is based on belief, idiots, go and buy a freaking compass and have a look at it and how it functions. The directions, rather, are flat, horizontal distances. You don't get to use north, south, east, or west if you're describing sphericity. They are planar directions.
Let me give you a flat Earth proof. Two things. Number one, how many dimensions is latitude and longitude, Nathan?
3.
2.
2 dimensions.
Oh, when it's Cartesian, when it's on a grid.
Yeah, latitude and longitude. I said, how many dimensions is latitude and longitude? You said 3. I thought you were joking. You were serious.
Well, you can measure it through a protractor view. That's why I said 3-dimensionality.
No, latitude and longitude, right? That's 2. That's 2. That's why it will. That's why you can be converted to an XY grid, not XYZ, XY grid. It's 2. Only 2 dimensions.
Fine. But the measurement itself. Well, okay, fine. But the measurement itself is 3.
Yeah, never mind the measurement.
Fine.
What it is 2 dimensions.
Fine.
2-dimensional.
Yes, I did mention that in my little preamble that it's converted to a Cartesian grid. That's the bit you meant. Fine, 2.
No. It doesn't matter where it's converted to Cartesian XY. It doesn't matter. It's 2 dimensions. 2 dimensions. Latitude and longitude. That's it. That's 1 latitude and longitude 2. End of story. The surface of a sphere, right, is incorrectly called 2-dimensional. It can't be 2-dimensional because there's a drop between any 2 points, regardless of distance. There's a drop between any 2 points. A measurable drop on a sphere that you can measure. A drop, right, from the straight line, from the tangent. That means it's not 2-dimensional, it's 3-dimensional. Because that's, right, latitude and longitude is 2 dimensions. Just the way X and Z are 2 dimensions. Now, X, Y, and Z, X and Y are 2 dimensions. X, Y, and Z are 3. But the latitude and longitude grid converts to an XY grid, not an XYZ, XY grid. 2 dimensions again. Point I'm making is there's only 2 dimensions to that coordinate system.
Yes.
So it cannot work on the surface of a sphere. Prove that, right? Have everyone, right, in South Australia, South Africa, and South America, have them all point north and see if they're pointing horizontally or if they're pointing down to their feet.
Yes, well put. Any more for any more?
No, that was the big ball proof. I hope everybody's paying attention.
I'm going to invoke puberty blockers.
I knew Brian was going to come back with that when you asked him. Brian?
Anything other than my egregious use of puberty as an explanation, which I now retract. Okay, Brian? I retract it, okay? Clearly not going to get a response.
No, you don't. Not really, you don't.
I do. Okay, well, I'll give my full explanation right. I am only spitting feathers and casting aspersions in terms of them being prepubescent, which they're not. And anybody can see that. They've got full-on facial hair to a certain degree. My point is, my fury isn't really aimed at them, yeah? So I'll just have to go on camera and say it. In reality, lads, you're inconsequential to me. I won't give you a second thought after this live stream ends, to be perfectly honest. I don't care what you do. I mean, that's in all sincerity. But I am a YouTuber and I've been doing this for 10 years. And I struggle. And I struggle because people like you who mock me, not me, but the flat earthers that you're presented with, you will get algorithmic favoritism. It's by government decree when they told YouTube to promote you over me. Well, that makes me kind of bitter and jealous of you. Now, you can point that out if you want it in your response video. I am jealous because as a YouTuber, I want the views that you're getting. Now, it's not like you're getting massive views. You're getting a couple of thousand views on your video in the first 24 hours, which is just reasonable views when you're a new YouTuber doing a good job. Your editing skills are okay. You've got a reasonable personality. I wish you every success as YouTubers. But in terms of Globers, you're a pair of spastics. And that's why you're being utilised by the algorithm to keep people dumb. I do mean that bit. It is true. You are dumb. And that is why you are being promoted. Because you tell the world that we are wrong. Now, you're not basing that on any actual fact or evidence or measurement. You're basing it on your opinion after watching a couple of other algorithmically favoured flat earthers' opinions. That's what you're doing. Well, that pisses me off because I put a lot of work into what I do here. By a lot of work, I mean I listen to the people around me and parrot verbatim what Brian says.
I think it's about time we try to get that ban lifted.
What ban?
How do you go about doing that?
No, you put a lot of work in, Nathan, and you have done for years with your YouTube channel. The problem is that you're working for a company, right, that has the most unfair employment
regime.
Sorry, say that again?
Regime.
Yeah, employment regime ever, because you're doing the same job as someone else, yet they're getting paid way more money. Yet you have to adhere to the same rules and you're doing the same. You are the same as those guys. You're the same, but they're more favored than you. That's a totally unfair regime. Totally unfair working practices. Like you could choose, people can say, I don't work for YouTube. I didn't sign any contract. Once you adhere to their rules, that's the contract. You break their rules, you get a strike. 3 strikes, you're out. You know what I mean? They can decide you're out even without 3 strikes.
And the whole paradigm is set up in such a way to make them, these 2 kids, my enemy. And they're not. They're just kids on the internet. They're just doing their YouTube bit and having a bit of laugh whilst making videos. Yet, because of the way that YouTube structures their algorithm and favours people who condescend to us and mock us, it means that I suddenly have to enter into this left versus right paradigm where I'm attacking them. So in other words, in many ways, you could say I'm as guilty because I'm buying into that us versus them narrative. So I'm just as guilty as they are. But it's out of pure frustration, most of it financially based. That is to say, I work hard. It'd be nice to just be able to cover the mortgage. And when you're getting 86 viewers on a video that's covering the most refined flat earth argument you can have, you'd expect to increase your viewers as you increase your subscription base. But that's not the case. This video is held away from everybody even in my own subscriber base, whilst these two, who've got much lower numbers in terms of subscribers, will get triple the views because they're being presented to everybody. Why? Well, because they're mocking us. Well, I shouldn't buy into that and bite on it and start attacking them back, because I'm then a useful idiot as well, aren't I?
Yeah, but that's not good, because I could look for something in sports and I'll get the best. It seems like you search this flat earth topic and you get the worst and the most ridiculous. People got to start complaining.
Yeah.
But let me throw something out there as a funny fact that I didn't think enough about before I did it. But I made a video. I'm not going to go into the topic. It's a bit conspiratorial, right? It's a recent thing everyone's aware of. Doesn't matter what it is. The point is, it wasn't about flat earth. It was about something else. And I got attacked by both sides, right, if you look in the comments. Some people were kind of in the middle a little bit with me, but a lot of people who were against me on both sides, of both flat and globe. The ballers were against me because I was too conspiratorial, and the flat earthers were against me because I wasn't conspiratorial enough. Right? So if you're anyway sitting in the middle, it seems, right, and you're putting out actual good flat earth content, which I do, and you do, right, you're not favoured. If you're not a complete conspirator...
Am I only hearing this for the first time? Not conspiratorial enough? You suggested that the gun behind Charlie Kirk was... the camera behind Charlie Kirk was actually a gun.
Yeah, well, the flat earthers are saying that I'm a sellout, some of them. Some of them, I was even called a shill, and some of them unsubscribed from me because they said that I'm promoting rubbish because they say that the man is still alive. Now, I don't know, right? I'm not saying he's alive or dead. I'm just saying if he was, my point was in the video, like not to do with flat earth, my point was I have a lot more people reasons for making that video that nobody knows about, right? Do these people think that I didn't think for a moment that it's possible that the whole thing is a hoax? Of course I did, right? But the point is, I can't make that video without giving the pre-assumption that he did actually get shot. Pointing out something that was very much a likelihood. But I was called, basically, they didn't call me this, but I was attacked for not being conspiratorial enough by the flat earthers.
Unbelievable.
Right?
Damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't.
No, there's a conspirator. Sorry.
Well, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, by the sounds of things. And I saw Russian Vids, or RV Truth as is now known, making a video pointing out flat out truths video being complete nonsense, where he's claiming that the entire tent that Charlie was in was a hologrammatic projection of Charlie. You're like, really? Are you really going to put your name next to this? Well, yeah, because that video will reach tens of thousands of people. Why? Well, because it makes him sound insane. That's why.
Well, my video is conspiratorial, but it's not so conspiratorial that the average person on the street couldn't go, I couldn't say that's impossible, right? Whereas there's other people on the street who would say, there's no way he's not dead, right? Now, that doesn't mean that you couldn't be hoaxed and he could be alive. That doesn't mean that's not possible. But the point I'm making is the video I made, and I said a flat earther's point of view, right? Or a flat earther's perspective, was in a way to show the public one of the reasons, only one of many, I'm not going to go into all the reasons why I made it, is that we actually can point out things that a lot of other people can't see and don't see because they can't think outside the box. You have to think like your enemies. You have to think like, who is his enemy? If they wanted to actually assassinate the man, what would they actually do? What would be the best way to do it to hide it? And now, as I said, there's a lot more about that. I'm not going into reasons why I made it. But the point being is that on one side, people are saying I'm a conspirator. The borders, they all coming at me with literally the totally official rhetoric, even though that is not believable by anyone, right? Snipers, everyone, no one believes it, right? But then you have the opposite side, my own side, who maybe they're coming at me saying I should be saying that he's dead, or I should be saying he's still alive. That I'm pushing rubbish when I'm saying that he actually could have got shot. Do you know what I mean? So there's no, you can't win. Like I'm trying to, if someone in the general public is going to come across a video from a flat earther talking about the subject, I would think it would be better if they come across my video than someone else who's saying that he was a hologram or saying that it was all Hollywood fakery. I think it would look better on us if they come across my video. Because yes, it's conspiratorial, but it's not impossible at all. Like, I mean, the fact that you could have a gun camera or a camera that's a camera and a gun, that's totally been done. Do you know what I mean? This is not something like that's outside. This is not like an alien spaceship that they all believe in. Do you know what I mean?
No, I totally get you.
Even, now I'll go into privately with you the other reasons why, and there's other developments you don't know about, and I'll tell you about it privately, right? Things that happen behind the scene. But the point is that either way you go, right? If you go completely conspiratorial as a flat earther, you will get promoted way more. If you go mainstream, you get promoted way more. So the ballers are promoted way more than you or me, and the conspiratorial flat earthers are promoted way more than you or me. David White's been a good example. But me and you are not promoted at all.
Indeed.
You know, as soon as you come out with a balanced frame of mind and a balanced direction, they don't want you around. You have to either be a complete cock to the narrative, or you have to be so conspiratorial about it that the average person won't listen to you. Even if you're right, they won't listen. They listen in 20 years' time if they turn out to be right. That's it. 20 years' time is no good to us.
Right. Neil, you can have the last word. Go ahead.
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
I'm just going to round out. Well, that's a terrible anticlimax. Okay, fine. With that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who went to our opponent's video and let them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Please do that if you are watching live. I'll stick another link to it in the live stream chat now, so you've got an opportunity to let them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Also, massive thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley. Another massive thank you to Discord and G+ Panels for making today's live show possible. Stay tuned if you're watching on an after show, and I will see you all in the next video.